An unprecedented day on Capitol Hill yesterday. The House voted to formalize the impeachment inquiry of President Biden, just hours after Hunter Biden defied a congressional subpoena. The first son showed up to Capitol Hill, but he went to the Senate building instead, and he delivered prepared remarks in front of a podium, demanding that he testify in public instead of behind closed doors.
I am here to testify at a public hearing today to answer any of the committee's legitimate questions. Republicans do not want an open process where Americans can see their tactics, expose their baseless inquiry, or hear what I have to say. Let me state as clearly as I can, my father was not financially involved in my business.
Former President Trump weighed in on the Hunter saga while at a rally in Iowa last night.
Did you see Hunter today, right? He went to the wrong place. He went to the Senate instead of the House. Everyone's saying, where's Hunter? See, it always gets, where's Hunter? What a two-tier system of justice we have.
Joining me right now is Kentucky Congressman and Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for being here this morning. Can you give us your reaction to all that has transpired yesterday?
Well, let's start with Hunter Biden defying the subpoena. He did it in a typical Biden fashion. He showed the world the amount of arrogance and entitlement that he believes he has because he's a Biden. I mean, he doesn't think the rules apply to him. We issued him a lawful subpoena. We've spent 10 months building a case of corruption against the Biden family. We have their bank records. I think everyone in America knows by now, even the people that are all in for Joe Biden, that the family was influence peddling. We want to now bring him in and ask him what exactly he did to receive the tens of millions of dollars from our enemies around the world. And most importantly, we want to know about Joe's role. We already know from Devin Archer that the Bidens were selling the Biden brand. Now we want to know exactly what that entailed. So he defied a congressional subpoena. He goes and he tries to play the sympathy card with the reporters, said he was there to talk, and then got in his car and drove off. Typical Biden fashion. So
tell us about that influence peddling and what you believe to be the most damning evidence that you've got right now. We've talked a lot about this. We've talked about the potential of money laundering and bribery. What can you tell us about the evidence?
Well, we've got over $24 million that we know of. We think there's more. $24 million that the Bidens have taken in. They've run him through a series of LLCs that even the bank said serve no purposes. We call that a shell company. Shell company is a company that doesn't produce a good or service or has any assets or anything like that. And then they laundered the money down to the Biden family members, 10 Biden family members. And we say launder through the suspicious activity reports that were filed with Treasury. 6 different banks accused the Bidens of money laundering. That's a serious crime, Maria. So we know they got tens of millions of dollars from bad people in bad countries. We don't know what exactly they did. We fear Joe Biden's compromised. We fear this is one reason that he's soft on China. We fear this is one reason that he obviously fired the prosecutor who was investigating Hunter's corrupt energy company in Ukraine when he was vice president. We fear this is why he didn't put sanctions on the Russian oligarch after she had given his family $3.5 million. So we have specific policy decisions that Joe Biden made while he was vice president and president that we fear were made because he was compromised. That's why this investigation is so important. This is an issue of national security. And the way Hunter Biden acted yesterday, I hope everyone in America saw a snapshot of the arrogance and entitlement of this family.
Well, that's why I asked you about the evidence, because this could not be more dangerous or more serious for America, given the aggression that we've seen from communist China, their plans to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower. We want a feeling of security that our commander-in-chief is not compromised because he accepted money from communist China at this moment. And, Mr. Chairman, the Associated Press is out with a new report this morning. It claims that you bought 6 acres of land with a campaign contributor, then transferred ownership to a shell company that you co-own with your wife. What is your response to this AP story?
This is a perfect example of the financial illiteracy of this young press corps in America today. First of all, the 6 acres was purchased before I was in Congress. Okay, so it wasn't a campaign contributor, it was before I was in Congress. Secondly, they said it was a shell company. This LLC that I have has 5 different properties. It's involved in land speculation. They even mentioned that I sold an acre of that 6 acres that was mentioned off because it's a development property in my little hometown of Tompkinsville, Kentucky. Very transparent with all this. It's all listed in the financial disclosure form. And the LLC also leases hunting on my 1,600 acres of farmland. So, the LLC has a purpose. It has revenue. None of the revenue comes from oligarchs in Russia or Chinese nationals. It's all money from basically farming and selling land in Monroe County. To say that it's a shell company is either a complete lie that some editor and publisher allowed the AP to do, or it's a perfect example of financial illiteracy. A shell company is a company that has no assets or no purpose. This is a land speculation LLC, and it has 5 different assets and lots of revenue, legitimate revenue. So, that story wasn't true, but we are laughing at, we're sitting around the people back home, they are laughing because this reporter spent 3 weeks in this little town in the foothills of Appalachia, interviewed all these people, never mentioned any of the interviews in the story because he was trying to find somebody to say something bad about me having the audacity to investigate Joe Biden. I mean, 70% of Americans in the AP's own poll realize that Joe Biden did something wrong, and they want us to investigate this, and that's why we got a unanimous vote last night on impeachment inquiry among the Republican conference.
So do you think that this is the media trying to begin to muddy up Republicans or continue to muddy up Republicans because you are getting so close to your target that you have actually been able to release all this evidence on the Biden family, that now the White House maybe is calling media to try to plant these stories? I mean, where does this come from in the middle of your investigation into potential bribery and money laundering?
It comes from the White House. They have their own war room. They have 24 people where we're paying tax dollars in there so they can attack the investigators. Look, the day that the House of Representatives passed an impeachment inquiry of the sitting president of the United States, the AP, instead of writing about that, comes out with this hit piece on me, which is comical. I'm a farmer. They called me a multi-millionaire farmer. All my golf buddies are having a big time with that this morning, Maria. I mean, it's a joke what they're saying. And what, at the end of the day, the media is offended that nobody's believing them when they say there's no evidence. Every American that has any common sense and any type of financial literacy realizes what's going on here with the Bidens taking in $20+ million from our enemies around the world. Why can't they say what they did to get the money? I mean, it's a simple question, and they expect someone to investigate it. The government hasn't been investigated. They've been covering it up, but the House Oversight Committee will continue to investigate. We will continue to move forward. We have momentum now with this impeachment inquiry, and we're going to get the truth for the American people. It's
amazing to me that the media is not covering this story, Mr. Chairman, truthfully, because this is seriously dangerous to think that the commander-in-chief accepted money from our #1 adversary. But the White House is sticking to its guns. Here's how the White House responded to Hunter Biden ducking out of that subpoena. Watch this.
Does he believe that congressional subpoenas are something that individual citizens can ignore?
I'm just not going to speak to that. Just not. The president was certainly familiar with what his son was going to say, and I think what you saw was from the heart from his son.
Mr. President, should your son have defied the subpoena?
Did you watch Hunter? Did you watch Hunter this morning?
2 years ago, President Biden struck a different tone about those who defy a congressional subpoena, Mr. Chairman. Watch this.
Congressional subpoenas on the January 6th committee.
I hope that the committee goes after him and holds him accountable. I do, yes.
Congressman, what do you make of their response?
Would regret this someday. The precedents they set, well, that day is today. I mean, we have a president who's engaged in corrupt behavior. Overwhelming majority of Americans realize that. Maria, I think this is the biggest public corruption scandal in my adult lifetime. Wow. And the fact that the media, that not only will they not cover it, they attack me, they attack Jim Jordan. Look, the headline of the Washington Post today says right under the big bold headline that the Republicans still have no evidence of wrongdoing by Joe Biden. I mean, we have checks going to Joe Biden. We have checks from Hunter Biden's shell company going to Joe Biden. We have checks from Jim Biden going to Joe Biden that we traced the money through the influence peddling scheme. We've caught Joe Biden lying over 21 times about his knowledge and involvement and communication with all these shady characters in his family's business dealings. And look, the White House continues to change the story. You heard what Hunter said yesterday. He said, my dad's not financially involved. Well, the problem with that is there are checks going from Hunter's shady business scheme to Joe Biden. Now, they say that it's all loan repayments. Well, they can have an opportunity to come in and explain those loan repayments to the U.S. House of Representatives.
So what about that? I mean, this impeachment inquiry now is formalized. Congressman, what does this get you? Do you think they are going to stop blowing off your subpoenas? Do you really feel like they're going to actually come to the table and try to work with you on all of this?
Well, we're going to court, and we're going to win in court. We have built up a case. I think we would have won in court before the impeachment inquiry, but this impeachment inquiry and the fact that it was a unanimous vote among the majority party in the House of Representatives, I think that the Democrats are going to have to think long and hard before they go to court, because we will win in court, and we expect to get the documents that we've requested. Most of these emails should have been available through FOIA requests, through Freedom of Information Act requests, and they've blocked that. So they've violated so many minor laws that really don't have time to talk about. It's the major laws, you know, the money laundering, the influence peddling, the bribery. I mean, these are serious, serious violations of the law, not to mention tax evasion and tax fraud.
Wow, incredible. And you also mentioned securities fraud at one point. On James Biden, is he blowing off subpoenas as well, the president's brother?
We're communicating with his attorney. We expect to see him in very soon. I'm going to hold off criticism of the president's brother. Obviously he has due process, and we have heard from his attorney. We're trying to make that work, and I feel like that'll happen soon.
Mr. Chairman, it's good to talk with you this morning. Thanks very much for the update. We so appreciate your time, and we'll be watching your investigation.